Hey everybody, today we're going to do a video on the dump trailers I have for my business, landscape business, and why I chose what I chose for trailers. I do not have a CDL license, so everything I do has to stay under that 26,000. So why I chose what I chose is because of that. If you have a CDL, some of these trailers you may feel comfortable hauling more than I do on them. I try to stay underneath, so if I ever get pulled over and weighed, that I'm not going to go over, and I'll explain that as I explain the trailers. We're going to start with my two heavy-duty trailers, which are load trails. I have a 14 foot, a 7x14 and a 7x16, 14,000 GVW, both of them. So we'll start. The thing I like about it is they use an 8-inch I-beam all the way up through to the tongue. All the cross members are 5-inch channel, and then back where they weld the scissor lift, they actually put two together, so it's like a box piece. But they do a lot of little things that other companies don't. When you go to look at one of these, you really want to look to see what you're buying. Another thing you'll find with load trailers, they'll put their scissor lifts a little further forward. A lot of them put the scissor lift over the double axles, which gives you more height, raise height, to dump stuff out. So you do lose a little bit of that having it further forward. The thing you gain is lift capacity. This will lift a lot more. The problem with the long trailers is if the scissor lifts back at the axles, someone gets too crazy loading the front, that's when people will talk bad about a scissor lift. Oh, they don't lift. I've been around construction stuff most of my life, so I know when you load anything, you try to load it over the axles. Other people out there, like I said, if you're loading it and you load it too far forward, it won't like lifting it. This has lifted anything I put in it. At the end of the day, sometimes I'll be loading stumps in it or something. I'm probably a little overloaded, I guess you might. I wouldn't say overloaded legally, but overloaded from my comfort zone. This has always dumped anything I put in it. So I have that's another thing I want to put out there about load trail. I've had other ones in the past. One of my original trailers when I started the business in the 90s was a load trail. I had it for 13 years, and when I was done using it for my company, I was still able to sell it for some pretty good money because they hold their value too. Some of the other brands out there, they rack and stuff over the years, so when you lift them, you'll see them rack. These stay rigid. Like I said, that original one I bought, I really felt I abused compared to the stuff I own now, because that's all I had to, as a dump. So, but that's one of the features I wanted to show is the I-beam. Another feature I like is the floor and sides are 10 gauge steel. They take the time when they put the stake pockets in. A lot of companies would only run this down to this point just so you could put the sides on it. They run it all the way down. They also, when they're bending the floor up, this is a 90 degree, and then they do this little bend to make it more rigid. When you lift this, it doesn't flex at all. The 10 gauge steel, I'm careful when I load boulders and stuff in here. I do a lot of decorative, I'm going to say boulders because they're big rocks, but they're decorative rocks for like landscape raised gardens and stuff. I tend to haul them in these because they're lower to the ground. It's a lot easier to put something in here with an excavator or something because they're not so high. But just features like this are some of the other trailers don't have. The stake pockets run down. Their fenders are diamond plate instead of sheet metal like a lot of them. They take the time and do little gussets to, that's a rugged. I got firewood in it now. Stuff falls out. It's a sheet metal fender. You end up dented. But these stay pretty rigid. You'll see on my 16-foot trailer I have sides on it. It just makes it easier when it comes all ready for it. But like I said, little things like this where that's run all the way makes this a lot stronger trailer. The bottom part of the dump bed itself, this is a 5-inch piece of box tubing. Everything's welded. These are painted pretty well. I believe they're powder coat. These seem to stay. I had one for 13 years. The paint, I painted it to sell it at the end of the 13 years. Other than that, I never had to paint it. Load trail also adds the drop jacks like this. This is 10,000 pounds. You'll see other trailers built this, let's say 14,000 GVW, but they'll have a piece of crap jack. But everything about these, I've run this for 2 years, but you just have better luck with these. The drop leg jacks are just more rugged. I have all my trailers set up with a 2 5/16 ball because even my flatbed trailer, My utility trailers are all 2 5/16. That way everything's always the same. I like how they do, their boxes are pretty heavy. They put the hydraulics in. Everything's in a small area too. Some trailers, I see one this summer at a customer's house that had, this unit was under the bed. So if this fails, I just don't know how safe it would be to get the bed up to get at the thing. But most of them have gone with this. But like the things that other companies do to save money that no one knows, that's why I'm putting this video out. This also has, this trickle charges off the truck when it's plugged in. But if I have a day where I go 15 plus trips with this, I'll come home that night and I normally plug it in. This comes with a trickle charger, right? Like I said, that's another thing companies like this do that other companies don't. You plug an extension cord in. I want to say that's like a 2 amp charge. You leave it overnight, the battery's good again. No one's trickle charge that comes off your truck will ever charge your battery if you're using it. If you use it once in a while, it will keep up with it. I'll have days where I'm hauling bark mulch or brush where I dump this 15 to 20 times, and that's, by the end of the day, you know that night it's a good idea to probably plug it in overnight. Everything about these trailers, they tend to come with the top system already on them. You don't pay extra for it. It is a separate part, but the dealer I've used, even my original one I bought that I had years ago, it all came together. They do a little, they call it a max step, but you think it's something little like that makes a big difference when you got to jump up in this at the end of a long day. Another thing you want to look for when you're looking at trailers, any trailer, not just heavy duty ones like this, but you want power up, power down hydraulics, because other than that, they get pretty dangerous, especially when you got weight in them. Because as soon as you let go of the button, it's gravity back down, but if you got weight in there, it's dangerous. I want to show on this one, got the safety bar up right now, but we do a lot of bark mulch and load and brush and stuff like that, firewood at the end of the day. Sometimes it's nice to leave this up. Like if you want the bark mulch to slide to the back, you can put it up. It's just easier to work off sometimes if you leave them up like this. But like I said, a lot of the companies, that's little things they do to make their trailers cheaper. It's stuff like this. It's going to have gravity down, feed down. So that's one of the things I always look for when I buy a trailer. This is the safety leg that they have, so when you've got to work on it or whatever, you can rest it on. Another thing this trailer has, and I did look, I'm not going to say competitors' names, but I did look at some other trailers, because the price of these compared to when I originally was buying them, these have gone crazy price-wise. But it's little things like the other ones I was looking at, this safety just kind of rolled up, and when the weight got on it, that's what kept it centered. This stays centered because I'm going to show you anyway. This one here is locked in, so you got to lift it up to roll it down. So we'll put the bed down because I want to show you the top system that's on these. These top systems has a little lock on it, but I got it pretty tight now for the wood, but I want to loosen it. Show you little things to look for. These come with a bar in them. One guy, you can grab this by yourself. You don't need two people pulling on the top. You set it in there, and then you tighten the front and lock it. That stays pretty tight. This is one of the other trailers I have that's a cheaper one. It's little stuff like that, that you got to put bungee cords on it. That top doesn't pull out quite as well like one person because there's not a bar on it. Something I probably will change later on when we get time to deal with it. One thing I always look for too is you're going to get it most of the time with a 12,000 GVW or higher. Sometimes you see it on 10,000, but not too often. But I always try to stick with the 16-inch wheel, 8-lug rim. These are standard size that Chevy, Ford, and Dodge have used, so these are very common. The thing I like about them, I always have my trailers, I buy them with a spare. That's not anything Load Trail does. It automatically, this was on there when I bought it. But the 8-lug is just, for some reason I hit something, blow out 2 tires, and I got to go to a local hardware store, Napa or something like that. You'll always find one of the 8-lug 16-inch wheels in stock with The 5 and 6 lug wheels, there's so many different bolt patterns that you really got to pay attention. If you have a flat or need a spare, sometimes it's difficult to come up with one quick if you're on the side of the road. Another feature the 14 and 16 foot trailer I have is they got the pull out ramps. They store underneath. I don't normally keep these in here because they do rattle unless I know I'm going to be hauling them. But these are 6 feet long, very rugged built. This is my 16 foot, 7 by 16 foot load trail, 14,000 GVW, just like the 14 foot one was. Things I like about this has got the sides on it. Like I said, having these stake pockets there, it just makes it easier to put sides on. This is the biggest trailer I have, and I do the sides for hauling brush. I can put 15 yards of bark mulch on this because I go, in the spring, I go get all my bark mulch and I normally store it here on the lot. Normally, if you're doing a delivery, it's like a 2-yard delivery, but I try to get it 15 yards at a time, keep it in the bin. Another thing, these come through with Dexter axles in them, which I think are probably one of the best. I want to show this scissor lift. Like I said, load trail tends to put these scissor lifts further forward on their long trailers. Some of the other companies don't do that. They want the weight over the axles, which makes sense sometimes. This case here, I think they do it depending on how much overhang. They've done their homework with this stuff. They've done this enough years, so they really did their homework on it. But this one, the tail, what hangs over the tail, I wouldn't feel comfortable having this go up any higher than it does. And I want to go back here and show you. This trail is stood up all the way, 16 foot long. It's still 6-7 inches off the ground, so if you're dumping gravel or whatever, that's as high as I would feel comfortable having to go up. Other companies, you'll see them almost stand up on end. Might impress people, oh, will dump anything. This dumps anything. I've even had wet loom in here that it always dumps out. I've never had an issue. Another thing, the 14 and 16 foot trailer, once in a while I'll haul one of my small farm tractors. The BX fits in here with no issues, but like the 2501 will fit in here with an attachment on the back. Comes with the factory 3-inch D-rings. These are the 4 D-rings. The payload capacity, this is a 14,000 GVW trailer. The payload capacity that you can haul, I want to say, is like 9,450 pounds inside the bed, because you deduct the weight of the trailer from the 14,000. So I believe this one's 9,400 pounds. The 14 foot is a little, I think it's 9,700 pounds because the trailer itself weighs, because it's shorter. But the D-rings are rugged. I mean, I've bound stuff down in here. Even when I haul big boulders in here, I'll chain them or strap them. Like I said, I've never had an issue. Both the load trail, dump trailers have Dexter axles in them. The load trail that I had for like 13 years, I think I did brakes on it once in those 13 years. Other than that, I never had a mechanical issue with the brake stuff. Dexter axles, I believe, have been out there for like 60 years. You never hear nothing bad about them, so that's another good quality thing to use. Another thing I like is they use a double, both sides, like you can pull the pin. This opens up just like my 1-ton dump truck does, and you can dump the load that way. 90% of the time, I'm using it as the barn door. The disadvantage of not using the barn doors, if you open it like a dump truck does, because it's so low to the ground, to get 5 or 6 yards of material out of here, you end up with a long, low pile because of the tailgate. So I've always found, I think maybe once since I've owned this one, I've run some stone dust out of it one day, if you're trying to tailgate something in a driveway. Other than that, I use the barn doors. But it's I think it's a nice feature to have it both ways. Little things they do too, like the old one, that one's like a year and a half older than this one. I have a chain that you have to hook with a loop. This one here has a D-ring, and you open the door and that holds it. So when you go to dump it. Little things like that, like I said, it makes a difference to me. Another thing on the load trails I like is the LED lighting. the stop and tail, all your marker lights on this are all LED. They use double insulated 16 gauge wiring harness, and they're very careful how they run their wiring harnesses. I've owned a few trailers, not dump trailers, but other trailers. The wiring harness sometimes are just a headache. They catch on stuff. They tend to run theirs so you just don't get caught up on anything. They're a little higher quality, I think, than some. Another good feature I like with the dump trailers is the cost of ownership to have something that will haul this amount compared to a truck. When I had the trucks, I didn't use them enough. My company, for what I do, I couldn't justify keeping a big truck like that around. I'm better off with these trailers. These trailers sometimes will sit on a job site for a week and we'll load stumps and debris from them from whatever we're doing. A big thing with me is I don't have big excavators. I got a KX040, and when you're hauling, like if I have to put a big boulder or take a big boulder out of here, it's a lot easier for me to lift it out of something at this height than out of a big truck. So I find even putting debris, like we do a lot of stump removal and stuff like that when we do our landscape jobs. You got to haul off 10 big stumps at the end of the day. It's a lot easier to grab them with the thumb of the excavator and put them in something that's this height. This is why this one's got the sides on it. The 14-foot doesn't, because this is the one I tend to do the stumps and big boulders, because I don't want to have to lift high to put something heavy in there. I also like when you're doing bark mulch, you open up the barn doors and it's just easier to work out of the back of something that's that low. You can jump up in, shovel it into a big wheelbarrow or the bucket of a tractor a lot easier than a big truck. So this is the smaller dump trailer I have. It's a 5x10 Brymar. I call this like a homeowner version trailer. Like this is something someone can haul with a half-ton pickup comfortably. 7,000 GVW. So again, you deduct the weight of the trailer and that you pay. I don't know what the payload, but dirt wise, this only wants to haul like 2 yards of stone dust comfortably. That's all I will put in it. Right now, this is all oak firewood. There's a quart of firewood in this trailer right now. But the little things, this has got the 5 lug smaller wheel and tire. This is just sheet metal. I put plywood on the inside of this so it sounds thick, but these will dent up pretty quick compared to like the load trails. So this is the little things to do to make these trailers cheaper, is they just bend up a piece of lighter steel. Homeowner can buy one of these. These have gone up a lot. The original one of these I had years ago, I want to say I paid like $2,590 for it. Now they're up over $5 grand. Same thing. I mean, this box I don't think is quite as heavy, but everything's in here pretty good. This one, I believe Brymar got bought out now, I believe, by a company called B-Wise, because this has got a B-Wise battery in it, which I think is kind of funny because it's a Brymar, but in the mud flaps on it say B-Wise. So this to bend the transition gear. It's also got the cheaper, hitch. All it needs for what we do with it, this works. But you'll see sometimes the big heavy trailers will have this little jack on them. It just doesn't make sense to me. So for a homeowner, this would be an awesome trailer. This is all you're going to want to haul behind a half-ton pickup anyways, I think. But I have this because there's a lot of driveways and camp roads I go in that you just can't get in with the, a truck and big trailer. So this is one I tend to use too. Like if I need a dumpster on site for like a week or two, this is the one we normally leave there. If we're just taking out like old bark mulch, brush, throw it in here for the week while we're working there. But these just fit in places. That's why I have it for my company. I just needed a smaller trailer to get in some of the places. But I want to show like the quality. This is just these are pinned. You pull the bottom pins, this will open, or you can pull 4 pins and the thing comes completely off. I tend to just take them off because it's not a real heavy. I don't want it to bend. And normally what I'm dumping out is a mixture of brush and mulch and dirt. So you tend to take it off, dump it out. But again, this top doesn't have the bar in it, so it's a little more time consuming. But it's little things. When you see a trailer cost a lot more, if you look at it, there's little things that make it cost more. And that's some of the stuff that you see the difference on. The day I bought this trailer, it was in a price point I wanted to pay that day. But you get home and you realize, my other trailers had the barn door style gate that you could open. This one here, it hinges up like a dump truck, and even then it's like you pull the pins and the only thing holding it is another pin. I also want to show you with the Brymar, why I like the power down cylinders. This one here, when you got a load on, you go up, and then when you hit it down, it just opens the valve, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's not safe. I understand they do it to cheapen them up, but if there's any regulations, I think that's one of the things they should change. That, to me, that's just a dangerous thing. So for a homeowner, this Brymar is all someone probably needs. Someone that's using it a few weekends of summer or whatever. Like I said, sometimes this may sit in this landscape yard for 3 weeks without being used. So if you were going to use it every weekend, I would suggest stepping up. Load Trail makes smaller versions. They make, I think, 4 and 5 foot trailers that are 8 to 10 feet long. Someone that's going to do dump runs on the weekend or something like that, this is all you really need. Mechanical wise, the Brymar, this is the second Brymar I've had. I have no real issues with them. Again, Brymar seems to be a name people like. They resell good. Most of my trailers I try to keep 10 or 12 years. Sometimes it goes longer, but I try to rotate out of them. People tend to buy certain brand names. Other ones they'll stay away from. These trailers work out good for my company versus the bigger trucks. A lot of my decisions on how I set my company up is I stay under the CDL. Nothing against people who have CDL. I just never had one, and I'm not going to get one at this point in my career. These work out good for me too. I just don't think the extra insurance cost and all that is worth it for my size company. So I just want to throw that out there. I mean, everybody's going to be different. If you got a CDL, there might be some other choices you can make, even with a bigger trailer, to hook to a bigger truck. But like, I can only hook these to my F350 single wheel truck because it's 11,500 GVW. So the combined weight to the 14, you're still under. So like, I can't even haul these 2 bigger trailers with my F350 dump truck because it's at 14,000. So you'd end up at 28. So a lot of my decisions I made, but I just wanted to put it out there, things to look for. And a lot of people don't understand neither. I know there's been some deals on, when I go buy a trailer, sometimes there'll be a deal on one that's sitting there that's like 15,500 or 17,000 GVW. I know the dealer I use is, I'll show you, I'm in New Hampshire, so Greenland, New Hampshire, REP. They've been in business for quite a few years. I tend to use him. I don't want to say I haven't bought trailers, because I got a couple small utility trailers from my landscape stuff I bought from someone else just because I ran into deals on them. But most of the time I deal with him, and he will tell you that, hey, you can't, what are you going to be hauling it with? And he'll explain to you the laws. Other companies that I've dealt with wouldn't explain that to you. They'd sell you that trailer until you get pulled over. You won't know. But they'll literally, they'll pull you over and figure out with your registrations whether you're legal or not. So I'm going to end the video with my experience with buying. I like the dealer that I have, that I've used. I did have one issue with this Load Trail. It didn't fail, but the pump to me started sounding funny one day. So I called up my dealer, and he said, oh, Load Trail's real good about it, just bring it down. I brought it down. His mechanic came out and basically changed out that whole unit. He said they're real good about, you know, it didn't fail me. It started sounding kind of squeaky. So I had called him. I want to say it was like a year old. And he, like I said, brought it down. 15 minutes later, I was back on the road. So Load Trail's very good about their dealers too, being able to fix their stuff without any, headache. I've had very good luck with Load Trail, Brymar, which is now BY's. But I want to end the video. I've had good luck with them. I've owned multiples, never had issues with them. The one issue I had, like I said, they kept care of, no problems at all, and I like that. Well, I guess we'll end the video there. If you like watching my videos, I appreciate if you like and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to make it grow. Thanks.